Hi, I'm John. This is my show, An American Scheme, where I'm proving that Diana Ross is Michael Jackson's actual mother. So this clip is Merv Griffin, 1970. Just a couple of the things that are taking place in this clip here is that in 1970, Diana Ross has been dating Berry Gordy for about 5 years, and she's just about to get pregnant by him right around this time. It's probably really soon. Within months after that, she gets pregnant with her first known child, Rhonda Ross Gordy. So right at this time, she's full on in a relationship with Berry Gordy, and she's starting to develop the film Lady Sings the Blues, which is Berry Gordy started a movie company because he was going to primarily wanted to make Diana Ross a movie star. So all these things are going on at that time. Another thing that's going on is that Jackson 5 has signed with Motown, and they have moved to California. But when they first moved to California, they stayed in a combination of the houses of Diana Ross and Berry Gordy in Beverly Hills. There was houses there that the Jacksons stayed, but we know that Michael for sure was staying in Diana's house. Of course, that's the whole plan of everything. She's trying to get close with him. So these are things that are taking place at this time, you know. So then let me just go and play this clip for you. I'm going to set it up. I'm going to go through here. I'm going to show you another thing, like another 10 years and another like 10 years thing, where Diana, when speaking about Michael, listen to how she speaks about it. It's always in the context like of a child, and there's much more personal stuff there and things that she would not be saying about people that have certain stories that they believe with Michael and Diana. So here, let's play this.
You're awfully big.
Aren't they, Morris? I love them. We have one of them in the audience here with us.
Where?
We have Michael Jackson somewhere out there. Is he out there? Where is he? There he is. That's my child.
Hey.
That's Michael. You know, Murder.
Don't you know anybody? You get a better seat?
He's been incognito.
Oh.
You know, they make me work hard because I want to be something. I mean, I am. Michael has always been like a son or a brother or something to me, and they admire me sort of like, so I try very hard to keep up such an image for them. And when I do a show like this, they usually sneak Michael in. I really didn't know he was going to be here. I heard about it, and I was hoping that he was here because it makes me a little bit stronger because I'm doing it basically for him.
I always have to laugh that she's doing it basically for him. See, now remember the other context of the thing, and when she specifies she's doing it for him, and then how she specifies, there's Michael, that's my child, and she says he's kind of like a son or a brother, you know, the things that she says and stuff. But the other part is like see how sincere she is about her commitment to her job being related to Michael. There's this massive thing about her being committed to who she is, and she's relating it to Michael. And there he is right there. That's my child, she says. And so the reality is that she's only met Michael Jackson at the most like 2 years ago, which they don't even really talk about that. But I'm even talking about before Michael, where I know that she's actually has the gig in Gary, Indiana, where the Jacksons actually perform on the same at the same show as Diana Ross, you know, which that's like 6 months at least, I believe, before they go to Motown. So let's say that she's officially known Michael for 2 years, okay? But she's Diana Ross of the Supremes. She's now also at this 1970, she's stepping away from the Supremes. This is also the time now where she's going solo, okay? So think about, she's already done all the Supreme stuff, right? But for some reason, look at the way how she's talking about this effort that she has to put forth in her work for Michael. And she's trying to do things for him. So like what I'm showing you is, look at in which the way she's speaking. And there's Michael alone. She's calling him my child. The reality is Michael actually is living with her at this time. You know, all the things. She doesn't know him that much. Michael's part of a big family. why does she have this connection to this kid? I mean, obviously the kid's got talent, but the way in which she has pulled him away from that family, and think about the family she's pulled him away from. It's Joe Jackson, who's a very strong a father figure who's going to be controlling, and look at how she is bossing, because that's the thing where how she gets the nickname of the boss, because she really was able to boss people around. That's why she got the name of the boss, because she was bossing people around, and it's because of what my story explains all of that. So now this is 1970, okay? So this is in the beginning. Look at how she's speaking. If you want to make up any excuses of what you say, it's so layered and thick, it's so obvious that what my story is saying. But now let's jump up to, so this is 1981. This is going to be Michael and Diana Ross attending the Oscars in 1981. Okay, so now this is after The Wiz. Okay, and you're going to, there's proof of that, because the guy says to him, are you guys going to do any more movies together? Because they've already done The Wiz, okay? And the reason I'm specifying that this is after The Wiz, and this is 1981, so what's Michael, like 23 years old, something like that? You know, he's an adult. He is a man. He's officially a man. This is a man. And not only is he a man, he's already done Off of the Wall. He's done Off the Wall. He's a big star. Officially, he's solo star. He's done a movie. He was a huge child star. They had a TV show. Like, there's a lot of things, you know, about what he's official. Big star. He's a man. Okay? So now they attend this here and the other thing, this is the Oscars. So you're talking about as far as one of the television shows that would have been most worldwide seen around the world back in those times would have been the Oscars and stuff. Remember, people aren't like recording. There's no internet stuff back there. People can't just go pull this stuff up like that. So, and back then, even though you're aware that the computers and stuff are starting to develop, you're not aware of like the internet, that people are going to have this massive access right in your house, like that we have now. And so when she's doing this stuff and she knows that it's being documented and she wants it documented at these big occasions, but I don't believe that she's aware that this was going to come back on her in her lifetime like it is right now, what's happening and stuff. Okay, so now let me play you this clip. Oh, before we get into here, the other big major part I wanted to show you is I'll show you after that. Let's play the clip. I'll tell you the other part of it.
Michael, Diana, 1 quick minute. Tonight is a night for film. What are your plans in film coming up?
We're going to do something soon. He's going to play my son.
How do you feel about that?
It's great.
Okay, so at the Oscars, look at them smiling as they walk off together. Their smiles are so similar. And so what are your plans together in film? Oh, we're going to do something. He's going to play my son. Okay? So now, the main thing I want to say about that, this is after The Wiz. And the story about Michael Jackson losing his virginity to Diana Ross takes place, everybody says it takes place on the set of The Wiz, around the time of The Wiz. That's where the rumor of Michael Jackson losing his virginity to Diana Ross takes place around The Wiz, the time of The Wiz, okay? Isn't that established? And everybody understands that that's the established story, okay? So now, first, like I showed you, Diana Ross speaking about Michael as a child. Oh, I do so much for him. When she first is back in the 1970s, all this stuff, what's going on, right? So then, and they do the movie together and stuff. Now Michael's an adult. He's had solo success. They're away from Motown. You know, this is totally, they're all independent. They're not, you know, they don't have any reason to be like, and so, but what does she say to him? Oh, we're going to do another movie and he's going to play my son. So in the context, if Diana Ross had sex with Michael Jackson on the set of The Wiz, would she be referring to this man who's escorting her to the Oscars? They're dressed up, you know, like they say, to the nines. He's in a tux. She's high level. This is when you go to the Oscars, you dress up as the elite as can be, you know, as elegant, you know, and glamorous, the full thing, you know. There's Michael in his tux. That's elegance and class and sophistication. It represents all of those where they're at. They're at the Oscars. Okay, remember, they're singers, right? But they're here appearing at the Oscars because they've evolved past the thing of singers. They're stars. They're big stars where their stars shine so bright that they're invited to the Oscars for the movies, because now they have done a movie, they're getting into that, and then so now, but they can appear there. I think maybe they were presenting an award or whatever it was, but so they're here together. So now in this context, what the people are trying to say is that Michael Jackson has lost his virginity to Diana Ross, and they're in some form of a relationship. And when I'm saying it's impossible, there's no way that Diana Ross would then continue to speak about him. Yeah, he's going to play my son. And what's the actual word that she says? My son. She doesn't say he's going to play my young lover. She doesn't say that. She doesn't say like all of the different things. Oh, he's going to play a star that I had to help discover. I mean, there's so many things. Think of all the things that would have been respectable and for her to say that could have been, But what does she say? My son. Because this is going to be documented. She knows this is going to be documented. This is one of those things. And she says those key words. So they're together, my son. She says the words over and over and again, and I stress to the point there's no way possible for them to be at this event, at this age in their life. Remember, Diana Ross now, she's been married. She has, 3 kids at least by this time, and then she's referring to him as a son. There's no lover thing whatsoever. It's always consistently. But here we go again. I'll keep going even further and further. I don't know the actual date, but you can hear from the context of the conversation. It says on here that it takes place in the late 90s. And this is on some show. It didn't say where it at because it's in a foreign show. And so I don't know exactly the host. And it looks like right there I'm reading it, La Famille Jackson, that sounds like a French, So I don't know exactly. So yeah, it could be in France and stuff. So I don't know. But anyway, so listen to how she speaks about Michael here. And this is it even goes further. And I'll even highlight. But listen really close to what she says.
It could be part of my family.
Yes.
We have a lot of the same bone structure and a lot of skin color.
Michael does now because he's had it all done. Do you take that as a compliment?
Cannot. I refuse you to insult Michael. He's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
I love him, and I don't like people making fun of him.
No, but we are...
Ok, Clive, c'est le moment de l'affirmer.
Yeah, so first off, she says, Michael could be part of my family, okay? Now, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, this is not joking around things. Listen to what she actually says. Michael could be part of my family. She says, we have the same bone structure. Bone structure. He could be part of my family. We have the same bone structure. And she's saying our skin color is the same. Before then the guy comes, oh, Michael does now. He's because of all the surgeries. And then the guy says to her, do you take that as a compliment? And because when he says to her, do you take that as a compliment? Because everybody knew that Michael Jackson, after just a little bit of surgeries, that he clearly was taking on an appearance of Diana Ross. He was emulating her in all kinds of ways. But what it was is that he wasn't emulating her. He actually was of her. His mannerisms and things that he couldn't control were so similar because that's his actual mother. So the things in which the people were seeing as that Michael was emulating, it wasn't emulating. There were mannerisms that were birth traits that were in his genes. And like how she's saying, I'll play this again. Listen to what she says in the very beginning. Michael could be part of my family. We have the same bone structure. Our skin color is the same. Now this is way late. That's what I'm saying. Here she is again referring to Michael as part of her family. And she even steps way beyond just as a joke of the family. She says we have the same bone structure and skin color. Family traits. that as the mother, now we can see why and what she's talking about. You can understand it. Why would she ever have been saying this stuff? Now here, let's play this again.
It could be part of my family.
Yes.
We have a lot of the same bone structure and a lot of skin color.
Michael
the
does
same.
now because he's had it all done. Do you take that as a compliment?
Cannot. I refuse you to insult Michael. He's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
I love him,
Yeah.
and I don't like people making fun of him.
No, but
She is like serious. Do you see here her staring him right in the eyes? You know, I refuse to let you talk that way about Michael. You know, no, you do not talk to, you don't say that stuff. And because she's telling what she just said, you know, it's one of these things where she just documented it for history. She knows this is a TV show. She documented for history where she's saying, oh, he's part of my family. And then the guy comes and makes the joke and it pissed her off. I don't have to assume it pissed her off. It pissed her off because you see it. And why does it piss her off? Because she's documenting this for history. She's documenting that she's the mother and she's leaving these breadcrumbs. She's been leaving this stuff behind all the time. But that was the thing. She had left it behind and there was no internet all of this time. But now the internet, that's why it came up to the time when it was the right time and there was the right person that it was time to see it. And like I said, Michael needed to pass away and I needed to know that Diana Ross was in his will. And then I needed to know that she didn't attend the memorial and I needed to understand the context of the letter that she wrote. Without those things, without that knowledge in my head, because I was one of these people when Diana Ross didn't show up to the memorial, in my head, and like anybody around me that I've talked about that, I'm like, where's Diana Ross? Can you believe Diana Ross didn't go to the memorial? I'm like, and then nobody was talking about it, and they weren't trashing her, and I'm like, in my head, I'm just like, it was going off for months, and like I said, until it came up to that time where I watched the movie, you know, but it was one of those things that it was in my head, and it was bugging me the whole time, and like I said, because I had heard her letter, and she didn't show up, and all of that stuff had been bugging me for about 6 months until I watched the movie Lady Sings the Blues, and when I watched the movie Lady Sings the Blues, then that's when I said, I had the actual thought, because I was seeing Diana Ross. It was like a morphine taking place where it actually looked like to me where I was looking at Michael Jackson. It looked like I was looking at Michael Jackson in drag. It looked like he was like a drag singer, but it was Diana Ross. And that's exactly what the best I can explain it was Diana Ross was up there singing, but I wasn't seeing Diana Ross. I was literally seeing Michael Jackson in drag. And I was like, what the hell is that? And it just went on and on. It wasn't like something like just a flash. It was there. And then so because it was so there, I was staring at it, right? It was like I'm literally staring at that saying, what the hell am I seeing? Like that. It's like, what the hell is this? What, you know, because like I said, I've got all the knowledge and all this stuff. And then, so after all of that stuff, this is the thing is like when I talk to people about fans that are out there, you got to understand, this is what it took to me to get to the point where I finally said, could Diana Ross be Michael Jackson's mom? You know, so, I mean, that's what it took. After all of that stuff and all the stuff and everything, and then I finally, after I'm staring at it, it's right in my face. It's like, boom, there's, like I'm saying, I'm watching it and it's so like, what am I looking at? That's what it was. I was looking at it. I didn't know what I was looking at, but it was there and it wasn't going away. And like, I literally like got up and I'm looking at it. It's like that's how it happened. I'm looking at it saying, what am I looking at? What is this? You know, wait. Because like I said, I'm watching the movie and it's Diana Ross movie, but I know the history and that's why I'm watching the movie. Why I'm interested in her movie is because I know her relationship with Michael Jackson. That's why I'm a fan of hers. You know, of course I like all the old Motown, like as I was growing up. The Motown's the thing of history. You just hear it, all the great songs, you know. I would know all the artists and the stuff like that, but I wasn't a Diana Ross fan. Like I never would have bought a Diana Ross fan, where I had lots of the Michael Jackson and the Jackson stuff. I bought all that stuff, you know. When I was a big fan in the Thriller days, then that's when I went back. I bought all the I'll tell you a funny little story really quick. Back then, I think they probably, I don't know if they did, but they used to have a thing where they, like in the TV guide, they'd have an article that would say, you get 12 cassettes for a penny. It's like, sign up for this, you get 12 cassettes for a penny, something like that, right? And then so one time I did that. I sent him like a penny and I got all the Jackson 5, everything I could get. I got everything. It was really cool. So I got everything Michael Jackson, all the Jackson 5 tapes. I got them all for a penny. You know, then they send you the thing trying to send you to the club. You're supposed to, whatever. I was a kid though, so I throw that shit in the trash. So that's one of those funny little stories. I had all those tapes I got for a penny from one of those stupid ads they send you. It's funny little things that I don't know. What was that stupid thing? Why did they send me all those tapes for a penny? Like, how dumb are these things they did? So that was one of those funny stories. Like I said, I was a Michael Jackson fan. I wasn't Diana. So like I said, when I bought all those tapes, it was all Jackson 5, anything Michael Jackson. There was no Diana Ross in there. There was no Smokey Robinson. There was no Temptations. There was none of that stuff, right? Even though obviously that stuff I've heard before and I love all that music, but I wasn't a fan of their music. That's not what I was purchasing. I was purchasing Michael Jackson stuff. I'm a Michael Jackson fan. So, and because of him, like all real Michael Jackson fans, you get into the Jacksons, of course. I'm a big fan of the Jacksons and Janet and all this stuff like that. But I moved past that now, where I do not see Michael. It's like I'm beyond that. So when people are saying when people are making the conversation and the argument that Michael appears to be as if he looks like a Jackson, to me, I'm way beyond that. And it's like, shh. It's like, why are you bringing me down? You're bringing me down with these dumb questions. It's like, why are you bringing me down? I'm trying to bring you up, and we're moving way past that, because that's where I'm at. I don't see that anymore, because I know that Michael's real parents are Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson. So I see everything, like the shoulders and the arms, and it says everything. When Diana Ross is talking about Michael, we have the same bone structure. Look at Diana's shoulders and Michael's shoulders and their arms. Like, they have bone structure, very similar bone structure. I've wanted to make a video about that. I was almost going to make one yesterday, because in the song The Dirty Diana, when Michael rips his shirt off and he exposes his shoulders, I'm like going to show, look at, he's literally showing you, these are Diana Ross's shoulders. Look at the similarity, the bone structure, like how she's saying. We got the same bone structure. This is the things of what they're talking about, what's actually going on in Michael Jackson's life. This was the thing that damaged Michael Jackson, which led to his extreme drug abuse, because he had serious problems that he couldn't deal with once he came off of the stage. And then the other thing is, when you're an entertainer like that, and you were groomed as an entertainer on the stage, and like I think in Diana Ross' book she talks about it, but I heard other entertainers speaking about it, that when the entertainers are up there, it's literally like a high. You're on a drug, and when you come off of that and you go down, then it's an up and down thing. And a lot of people who haven't had experiences with drugs don't understand. But people that do understand drug knowledge, and they understand exactly that that's okay. You're saying that you're really high, then you have to come down, and now you have to live in this world, and now you're like, okay, well, what do I do with my time? You're bored and stuff, and then because you have time, there's a lot of time in your life, and you got to kill the boredom, and there's all the things you got to do. And Michael Jackson, one of the things in which he did to kill the boredom is he got into drug use. Definitely. See, here's the thing. Okay, I've been a heavy marijuana user for years, for my whole life and shit, basically. So, one thing that marijuana does, a literal effect, okay, besides the thing that when I'm awake and stuff, okay, it actually has a effect that's a good one, is that I don't dream. Like, if I dream during the night, I sure as hell don't ever, I don't dream, period. I don't dream. Because it's because of the weed. Because when I stop smoking weed, it's freaking nightmare time, and it's crazy land at night. You know, you start dreaming, and again, you know, anybody that has dreams and stuff, it is freaking madness. You have these madness in your dreams. It's crazy. And it's like, yeah, some dreams are good and maybe they're beneficial, but it's like, you know what? I'm happy. I don't need any secret messages in my dream. I would rather just avoid all the chaos and the destruction of what takes place in the dreamland. And because I smoke marijuana, I get to avoid all that. I do not ever have a nightmare. Never. I don't have nightmares. And so this is one of the things about Michael Jackson. He what would happen to him is when you're having thoughts and you're like abandoned as a kid, the way he is, obvious, because he's all talking about he's Peter Pan. So when he's having those thoughts, if Michael's sober, he would go to bed, and at night there's things would be messing with his mind. And this is probably how you progress into the heavy drug addict use. Probably with Michael, one of the main things that really is probably so what you do is that the nighttime's coming, and you know that you're going to have those nightmares. You don't want to have them. So you start taking a drug before you go to bed. And then what he finds out is he starts taking those drugs, and he starts finding out that he sleeps good through the night, and he doesn't have dreams. He's not having any nightmares. And that's the thing that he starts saying, I like that. I like that. That's what leads him into becoming a drug addict. Because he doesn't want to have nightmares and the things that occur at night that are beyond your control. That's part of the reason why he probably had that big security thing on his room there, because he wanted to have that peace of mind when he was asleep. And a lot of it was because he was he was heavily intoxicated. He's being sedated, basically, sedating himself. And so when he's under that sedation and stuff, there's the things when he's in his room sleeping there that he doesn't want anybody coming around, and he wants his privacy and all that security. But it's all drug related is where it's at. But and then the drugs, and when people talk about drugs, people are like, think weird ways about drugs. Drugs are just reality. You need to kill boredom. That's a major one. First, you got to kill boredom. The other thing is you got to kill the negative thoughts that are persistent in your head, and they'll just keep going and going and going and driving you crazy. So how do you stop? If you can't stop those thoughts, it doesn't work. It's like it just keeps going and going, and then you keep going deeper into the rabbit hole. Boom, and so those are things you're trying to avoid, and you need to get sleep. You got work to do. That's like one of the worst things that I hated in my life and this is one of the major reasons why I consistently used marijuana, or became other benefits of it, is because, like I said, it enabled me to sleep. Okay, so when I'm working all day, and you come home, you take care of your few things you got to do the thing, but then you got to get to sleep because you got to be at work back early in the morning. You got to go back to work. And if you don't get your sleep, you got to go, oh man, it's miserable. So the key is you got to go to bed. You got to sleep during the nighttime. And so, like I said, I would use marijuana. Michael Jackson used prescription he would have, through his lifetime, he would have used everything. He experimented in all of that stuff, which is another big reason to show you the reality of Michael Jackson's life. If Michael Jackson was willing to experiment in with drugs the way he did, being the rock star person he was, at some point he would have experimented with women sexually. There would have been there'd be real women talking about real sexual experiences with Michael. But that stuff's not there. The reason it's not there is because he's so damaged by Diana Ross. When Diana Ross tells him that she had abandoned him, that she was his real mother. Remember, he's 10 years old when that happens. When at the time in 1970, like when he's in the audience there, she's dragging him around. She's saying, "I'm your mom." She's trying to do all the stuff to make herself feel better, that she's being a good mother, trying to get back into Michael's life and so. But Michael's damaged. She doesn't see the damage that was done, but Michael's damaged, and we can see the damage of it because Michael is calling himself Peter Pan later on in life. And so what you see is the other thing is Michael's got a huge religious upbringing, okay, but that sure as hell didn't stop any of his brothers for having sexual relationships. They all got into normal marriages and had kids, normal progressions of life, right? That religious thing sure as hell didn't stop any of them, did it? No. But the one person that does stop is Michael. So it can't be that the religion itself can't be the reason that stops Michael from progressing into his natural progression, which he would have had with the women. Because like I said, even if he's a pedophile, okay, if he's a pedophile, Michael's going to have to, he understands he's going to have to cover that up in society, that's not an acceptable thing, so in part of covering that up, he would have had sex with a woman just to understand what sex was like, because that's part of sex too. You want to have multiple sex just to get better at it. You want to see what it's like. You're interested, you're curious, especially if you're a goddamn pedophile. He would have been monster curious before he got to the point where he's starting to have sex with kids. Goddamn, there would have been a freaking train wreck of women left behind and experiences that would have happened in Michael's life before he got to the point where he started freaking grooming the kids at the Neverland Ranch and all this stuff with this deviousness of what they've got the freaking Wade Robson and James Safechuck portraying now as Michael is. Oh, he was grooming me with everything. That was all grooming. Yeah, shut the hell up. Oh my God, it's ridiculous. So they've got this appearance of grooming, but it's the reality of what you're seeing is the reality of Michael is a virgin. There is no trail of sex taking place in there because Michael is a virgin. Well, how does that happen? Because he is told in around that 1970 time by Diana Ross in her house, like it's stated in the song Billie Jean, this happens way too soon. She calls me to her room. She calls me to her room. This happens much too soon because he's 10 years old when he's living in Diana Ross, and that's when Diana Ross informs him in her house. She calls me to her room. In her house. That's Michael's living in her house at that time. Diana tells him, tells him the story. You're the one. You're the reason all this stuff happened. And that's what I'm saying, the massive effort when Diana Ross talks about I do everything for him. I do everything for him. It is true. She was doing everything for him because she had abandoned him. And that was her path to Motown, and that direct course and that fierce determination that she had inside of her. It was all for him. So she could get back to that point there. She was at some point, now we don't know that Michael was going to be a star, right? That's something that just happens, right? But she's going on a path to become a star and become successful. So at what point in her life would she then re-engaged with Michael if Michael doesn't come back and re-engage back into her life, re-encounter in the way that Joe brings him back? If that doesn't happen, then at what point in her life does she then go after that kid, and try to reclaim him? Because I would assume that something like that would have had to have happened if Michael doesn't progress to become the star, if he doesn't have any talent and Joe doesn't nurture him and none of that stuff is happening. So at what point I would think that it's before the point where she, like when she moves to California, she gets her own house. It's probably right around that same time. Before she actually has a child, she probably would have went back in search of the kid that she gave away, because now they're all established. She would have talked to Barry, but see, remember, she's with Barry. Barry and Smokey are the ones that pulled the whole thing off. She's dating Berry Gordy, and he's the head of Motown, and so where does she put herself? She's got to position herself. Where does she position herself? She positions herself as the significant other of the head of the company. And the reason she does all this stuff is because, like I said, she's on that determined course, and this is why she becomes labeled as the boss, because there's Michael's out there. There's this thing that's going on where she had abandoned her kid, and the whole time she's not giving her kid away forever. I absolutely do not believe that, and that's what she states in the movie Double Platinum. When she comes back to Brandy, she says, I wasn't giving you away forever. You don't think I was giving you away forever, do you? That's like what she states there. So I believe that was her sentiments about that she was not giving him away forever. If Michael didn't come back, she would have then went in search of him. Something would have happened. But we don't know that story because Joe Jackson is the person, and he's the person that brings Michael back because he does all the things that he does, which is just so amazing. But see, then that's the thing. When Diana is here doing all this thing, what I'm telling you, where she's dropping the breadcrumbs, where she keeps relating to Michael as her child, her son, saying here that he's could be part of my family. We have the same bone structure. The reason that she's doing this here is that she did not ever like the fact that Michael Jackson's talent was being given to the Jacksons. She does not ever like that, because the talent of Michael Jackson was the talent he got from her and Smokey, which that's the pride you'll always see in her, in which she has over Michael, and the control she has over Michael. It's all the motherly control of when you see their whole relationship together. And like I said, when it proves in 1981, she's still referring to him as a child. There's no way that she could refer to him as a child if she had sex with him and now he's a big star. She would be making him be like, oh, there's my date. This is the sexiest man in the world. That's what she would have said. Never ever would. Now, that's what she could have said. She could have said, oh yeah, we're going to do a movie together. He's going to play the sexiest man in the world. Okay, that's the words that would have came out of her mouth if she was the older woman who had seduced this young star, taken his virginity. Now they're attending the Oscars together. She's showing him off. They're walking hand in hand. And then you think she's going to refer to him as, oh, he's my son? Oh my God, you got to be ignorant as hell. You definitely don't know anything about sexual nature or any kind of sexual relationships if you think that there's a context that where they had sex and then she's going to refer to him as a son at the Oscars. And like if they're if they're not related, like if my story is not true, right? If the real story had happened, when they went to that moment, there's no way she says the thing about the son. The son thing is the worst thing. It's like, ooh, boy, you just killed the buzz, the sexual energy vibe. Why you call me a son? That's the worst. The woman would never do the son. Because why do you want him to be looking at you as a mother? That's the worst possible thing that a woman could do to attract a man. God damn. It's so blatantly obvious when you just look at it and listen and just listen to the words they actually said. And like I said, there's no way that possibly could have taken place like that. Okay, so it's just over and over and over. I could constantly go on and on and on and on with this stuff. And it's like, all this stuff shows my evidence. Look at like in this video. I show you from the beginning of when the Jacksons enter into the Motown time to this is now Diana Ross speaking about Michael Jackson. This, like I said, stated in the late 90s. This is much later into the future. But how is she still referring to Michael as being, he could be part of my family. We have the same bone structure. We have the same skin color, you know? And then she's still referring to him about the skin color at this time. Think about that too, because now this is the 90s. Michael's white now at this time, but she's still talking about the skin color thing because there's a thing of what because they're so embedded. And like how the guy says to her, is that a compliment to you? Because everybody knew that Michael looked just like Diana Ross and nobody knew what was going on. And what it was is my exact story, everything. And that's why Michael looks like her, because he's abandoned by her. He's wanting to be part of her. All of the stuff, everything shows the reality. My story follows it because it's true. So I don't have to think like, well, could it be? No, it's true. Look at what happened. My story will explain to you exactly why it's happening, why it's occurring, the whole process of everything. You look at the real people involved, all of the stuff, and the simple reality and the saddest reality and the saddest truth, and this is why I'm so mad at the Michael Jackson community. They piss me off because the simple reality is these people are all still alive. The only person that was involved in all this directly that passed away is Joe. You know, but he lived his life. He lived an old life, you know, but they're all still alive. And I keep saying, come on, we need to expose this and make them all in their lives to have known that the truth has come out and they're going to have to deal with it. I want her to have to deal with the fact that she is looked upon as like a pariah on society now. And all the awards and all the accolades and all the greatness of everything, it can be tarnished. And I want to see what happens when they're tarnished. It's like, let's bring in that tarnish and let's tarnish their whole history and let's see who these people really are. I want to see how you people judge them at this point. That's what I want to see. I know how I judge people and I look at people, but it's like, this is something for society because what they did was all for society. Society needs to come back and judge them. That's what I want to see happen.